Assalamu alaikum. So welcome back to our YouTube channel. So in this video we will be dealing up with the most probable science questions for the SSLC students. So this PDF is mainly designed for the SSLC students so that it will be easy for them to focus on the specific questions. Okay. So the questions which are mentioned over here are the most probable questions that might appear in your board examinations. So let me explain you that what you need to study in each chapter, which is important from the point of view of boards. Okay. So first thing is that we'll be discussing about the diagrams which you need to study. The first and foremost diagrams which you need to start studying is from the all totally there are 27 diagrams, okay, including the physics, chemistry and the biology part of your science subject. So there are no diagrams which are very difficult to practice. That's why it is easy for the students to score in this part. The numbers mentioned over here are the names of the diagrams or the figure numbers of the diagrams which the students need to practice. Okay, so 1.6, 12.2, all these questions, all these numbers or all these figure numbers are the numbers of the important diagrams which students need to practice. Very soon we will also be uploading a PDF of this diagrams. So if you need it, you can comment below and we will be sending you the PDF as well. Now the one more important thing over here is that the most expected diagrams are from the ray diagram or ray diagrams from light reflection and refraction, from which you can easily score the 3 marks, but some students find it very difficult to study the ray diagrams. So it is also okay for the students who doesn't want to practice the ray diagram, but the students who are very much particular of physics and they find the physics as interesting, then they can go for the ray diagrams as well. Now coming on to the another part of the another unit of the syllabus, that is the electricity. So electricity, the content which the questions which will be coming over here will be the practice numerical problems, which is V is equals to Ri, R is equals to R1. That is the when resistors are arranged in the form of a series, then how you will find the total resistance, okay, effective resistance. So that questions will be asked. So same like that, if the resistors are arranged in the form of a parallel connection, then how will you find the effective resistance in that way? Then the power, how will you find out the power, that questions. Then the numericals I'm telling you, because many students find it very difficult to study the questions, study the numericals mainly. So what kind of numericals you need to study from the electricity chapter, I'm telling you that. So power question, then I is equals to QT, that is the current flowing through the wire. If mainly they will mention the value of charge flowing through the wire and the time taken to flow, time taken by the charge to flow through the wire. So what will be the current produced? They will ask the questions in that way. So that type of questions you need to study. And the power, as I said. So here I have mentioned all the formulas over which the questions, numerical questions can be asked. So Ohm's law, define Ohm's law. What you need to define the Ohm's law. Then factors which affects the resistance and over which the conductor depends. Then electric circuit. What is electric circuit? Fuse, earthing, potential difference, electric potential, SI units, and the numericals, as I have said you. So in this unit, the main thing is numerical problems and the definitions. Okay. So coming on to the next unit, that is the magnetic effects of electric current. So in magnetic effects, you will not be having numerical problems. Okay, so you will not be having a numerical problems, but what is important over here is the diagrams of a dynamo and a motor. Okay, so that questions will be coming for you, and the functions of carbon brushes and split rings in the transformer, in a generator, that kind of questions will be appearing from this magnetic effects, and the differences between the AC and DC, then properties of magnetic field lines, then the magnetic field due to a current through a straight conductor, that type, then through a loop, circular loop, then a solenoid, Faraday's experiments. So these are those questions which will be appearing from for the magnetic effects. Now coming on to the light reflection and refraction. So in light reflection and refraction, you will be it will be important for you to study the ray diagrams, as I have said in the diagrams part. And coming on to the another theory part in the light reflection and refraction is that the uses of concave and convex lenses and the application type of questions. But most probably this year it is not going to be the application questions, will not be asked from this chapter, so hopefully it shouldn't be asked. Okay, so the another theory questions which will be coming from light reflection and refraction is the principal focus, curvature, Snell's law, refractive index, and the magnification. Okay, so the theory questions as well as the diagrammatic questions which is going to be asked from this chapter wise, I have given you in the PDF. If you want the same PDF, or if you want to take a screenshot, you can take it as well. Okay, okay, so coming on to the another part, that is the human eye and the colorful world. In this, the questions will be major questions which is going to be asked from this chapter is the defects of vision. Okay, such as myopia, hypermetropia, presbyopia, that questions, and reasoning out the questions will be asked, like why sky is blue. The questions which has been appearing from so many years, same type of questions will be coming in this. Then why do stars twinkle, then Tyndall effect, definition of a Tyndall effect, then why there is a light before sunrise and after sunset, all the reasoning type of questions from this chapter. So in the last part of a chapter, these questions have been already discussed, so you can study from there. Then you can come on to the parts, the functions of the parts of eyes. Refer the functions of parts of eyes, like ciliary muscles. What is the function of the ciliary muscle? Then the pupil. Okay, so these kind of questions will be asked from the human eye and the colorful world. Okay, now coming on to the next chapters, that is the sources of energy. Now in sources of energy, you need to practice the diagram of biogas plant, which is very important. Okay, so biogas plant from the sources of energy. Basically many students tend to skip this chapter because this chapter doesn't seems like the general knowledge. Okay, so you need not do that. You need to practice a diagram of biogas plant, then the uses of components in it to be referred, like in a biogas plant, what are the components used and what is the use of them, that you need to study. Okay, so from that you can easily score the 3 marks. Now coming on to the short notes on wind energy, biomass, then thermal power plant, hydropower plants, solar energy, wave energy, Tyndall energy, ocean thermal energy, geothermal energy, nuclear energy. Now all these questions, like definitions, at least if you are skipping this chapter, you need to at least focus on these questions. So at least you will have a knowledge something about the sources of energy. Okay, mostly they will ask the definition type, or they can ask in the another parts as well, not directly. Even if they twist and ask, you will be able to answer that. Now coming on to the another chapter, that is the chemical equations and reactions. So the chapters which I am discussing now is according to the blueprint. Which chapter or the which unit holds the maximum marks, I am coming from that point of view. Okay. So chemical equations and reaction. In this you need to refer the types of chemical reaction: combination, decomposition, displacement, double displacement, and differences between oxidation and reduction reactions. Then the corrosion, rancidity, that is the redox reaction which will be occurring in the day-to-day life. Then the model question paper, you can refer it if you want more questions to practice. And endothermic, exothermic. So these reaction differences is very important. You need to study that as well. Now coming on to the another part, that is acid, bases and salts. So in this chapter what you will be studying is the preparations and uses of bleaching powder, POP, that is the plaster of Paris, then baking soda, then washing soda. So these are the expected questions. We are not telling that these questions are only going to appear. So at this moment, if you want to skip any chapter, you don't skip that entire chapter. Study at least these questions so that you will have at least something related to the chapter. You will have a knowledge of something of the chapter, that what does it consist of. Okay, so these questions, then importance of pH in the everyday life, then values, uses, then acid, bases and salts properties. What is the property of acid? What is the properties of bases, salts? So these are something which every student must know. So for sure they will be asking you the question, these types of questions. So you can study that. And reason out questions in this chapter likely to be asked, that is the if they ask you that why the chips packets are always filled with the air or with the nitrogen. Okay, so this is the reason type of question which you will answer it in the form of in the form of telling that to prevent rancidity. Okay, so or to prevent the redox reaction. So you need to mention the phenomena because of which the chips packets or other food packets are filled with the nitrogen gas. Okay, so reasoning type questions means I have given you the example, that kind of questions. Now coming on to the metals and non-metals. So metals and non-metals, in the metals and non-metals, the physical and chemical properties will be asked. Then the reasoning out questions also will be asked over here. Then the terms concentration, roasting, calcination, these terms they will ask you, because these terms are new to the students of SSLC. So they will ask you to define those questions. Okay, then the difference between the roasting and calcination. Okay, for the if you are studying the minerals, the sulfur based minerals. Okay, so these questions are for that kind of questions, which will be like difference between the calcination and roasting. They have major thing is that both are used for the sulfide based minerals. Okay, but the problem over here is that there are some temperature which is been followed for roasting as well as the calcination. So that difference the student must know. And how can you prevent the corrosion? Okay, so these questions from the metals and non-metals. Now coming on to the carbon and its compound. So this is something which the students have been skipping this chapter for the reason that there are so many new terms associated with this chapter. Okay, and it is basically a pure organic science, organic chemistry. That is why the students tend to skip this chapter. Okay, so the questions from this will be catenation, the chain making ability of a carbon, catenation, then isomerism phenomena, then homologous series, the formula of a homologous series, then functional groups will be asked, like what is the functional group of alcohol, that is OH, what is the functional group of carboxylic acid, COOH. So these functional groups you just need to remember. Then electron dot structures of NaCl, mostly NaCl, because that is the question which is being asked from so many years. Then ionic bond, covalent bond, then the formula and the structure of saturated compounds of carbon and hydrogen. Okay, so there are formulas which have been given in your textbook, so you need to remember that. Then the difference between a soap and a detergent, then chemical properties of carbon, that is the catenation, isomerism, tetravalency. So these are the properties of the carbon, you need to write that. Then the properties of ethanol, properties of ethanoic acid. Okay, so if you're not able to study the entire chapter, at least study these questions, which is sure to come in your not sure, it probably these questions will be coming from this chapter. Now coming on to the last chapter, that is the periodic classification of elements. So in this, the mainly the laws will be asked: Newland laws of octave, then Dobrinder's triads, then Mendeleev law, modern periodic law, then Moseley's. Then reasoning out questions will be is likely to be asked, but I don't think so it will be asked from this chapter. If it is asked, it will be a kind of like why there was a gaps left for the zinc. Okay, in the Mendeleev left a few gaps in the periodic table. So why was it left? So these kind of reasoning type of questions. Then the questions on the shells like KLMN. Okay, so based on the valence electrons basically. So 18th group based questions, like what is the specificity of 18th group. So these type of questions are going to appear from your each chapter, most probably. Instead of skipping the entire chapter, at least you can focus on these questions. So this was an overview for the SSLC students to study at least the most probable questions for them instead of skipping the entire chapter. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you need study material of SSLC, kindly comment below or message on the number which has been given in the description box to get more details on our crash course classes or the normal classes as well. So to get the details, message on the WhatsApp number which is given in the description, or you can even comment below. We will follow up there as well. So Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.